Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Mindful Session. My name is Unisa Camara. I'm the host of the show, and I have the privilege of, as always, having my co-host.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dave Sleet, and I'm really looking forward to this session. This is really, really exciting for me.
As always, David, I'm always intrigued by, the topics that we tend to have on the show always tend to intrigue me because as an advocate for the youths, I think we can always apply whatever topics we use onto this show to support the youths. So, and also not just support the youth, to support a lot of individuals that are out there. So it always gives me the utmost, pleasure of having such conversations. So ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the show. Today's show, it's about track, T-R-A-C-K. Now, David will have the honor of giving you the definition of what that is.
Okay, so we actually have a graphic to show you guys, which will help put this into your mind thinking. But everything about track, when we think about any plan that we want to achieve, any goal that we set ourselves, there is a process to go through in order for us to reach that goal or execute that plan. What track does is allow you to keep on track, and realizing that to achieve your goal, to reach that target, to achieve your plan, it's invariably easier, more successful when you're using formulas that we know work. So, what does track mean? Let's break it down. So as Eunice has said, T-R-A-C-K. T, team. R, responsibility. A, act like the right people. C, controls and checks. And C is knowledge. And K, sorry, is knowledge. Dyslexia is kicking in this morning. So when we look at those 5 elements in their entirety, we start to see that there is a formula that helps us achieve our goals and our targets. But it all starts with having the right team in place. And we've done shows all around team, and if you haven't seen those, then by all means check out our previous show on team. And we continually highlight how important it is to have the right people around us, the right positive energy, everything else. But when we've got a plan in place, something that we really want to achieve, knowing who the right people are is paramount.
Well, the thing about the whole aspect of team is when you know who you are, you're able to build a stronger team around you. Because if you know what your desires are, your needs and wants, because there's a need, and we did a show around need, and we did a show around wants as well. So when you understand those bases of, when you have that concept of what your needs are, your wants are, you're able to surround yourself with the right team.
Exactly. So when you've got that in place, and you know that the right people are around you for whatever it is that you're seeking to achieve, you're that first step to achieving that goal and that target. But if the people around you, and this includes yourself, aren't able to accept responsibility for that plan, that goal, that target, it's going to get very, very difficult. So making sure that you are able to understand what the goal is, how the goal works, how things need to happen, is going to be based on taking responsibility for that goal. How often do we see plans put in front of us, whether it's from young people that we're working with, and everything that goes wrong is somebody else's fault?
You know, David, the thing about building a team is that you cannot blame the team. You have to blame yourself at the end of the day. Precisely. So when you and I, we've done some projects together. And one thing we tend to do is that we tend to look at the actions of the team, and we tend to look at our actions, what your input and what my input is. And sometimes when you say you have constructed a team, you know, what you're hoping for is the best of everyone. We hope that everyone will give their 100%. But when you're building something, it's your baby. You understand?
It's your plan. It's your project. It's down to you.
Precisely.
And it's that accepting responsibility for the whole of that. Not just this is my idea, but this is my team that's going to make this happen, and how I interact with that. But just like you just said, A then comes into play. Act like the right people. And the team have to act like the right people. You want people that are in your team doing what they need to do. They're already taking responsibility for that plan. They're already working as a team. And when you've got those three elements in play, you can then start looking at, how do I check this? How do I make sure everything is on point? And how are we moving this forward? Are we actually getting to where we want to get to?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I always do, I'll always disagree with David, and then we'll banter. Now, when we construct a team, I don't want you to act. I want you to be you. I want you to be precise. I expect the best out of you. So when you constructing a team out there, ladies and gentlemen, make sure the people that you choose are on the same mind frame, on the same focus, on the same track as you're on. Because when somebody come and start acting or pretending, they're not going to give you their all. It's just going to be a baggage that you're going to have to carry.
Okay, so when I say act, it's not about performing. It's not about the kind of pretending to be the right person. Act like the right person is doing the actions of the right person.
Okay.
Okay, and let's be clear. We've seen teams across the planet now.
We definitely have.
Who will say, yes, I've got the perfect CV, I've got the perfect
platform,
I've got the perfect platform. And when you actually drill down behind that, it's actually a movie set made of papier-mâché and paper and plywood. And it's not acting like the right person, it's pretending to be the right person. And there is a clear difference.
I was invited, you know, you and I spoke about this movie I'm supposed to be doing. I went on and I got invited to a board meeting about the movie. And I had the opportunity of meeting everyone. Me, I like to dissect. I like to understand. And when we were sitting, it was a big table. Everybody reading their parts, everybody getting involved. I'm not going to do this. Oh, well, yes, you are. But sitting there, analyzing everyone, I really had the opportunity to dissect and understand who was who. You understand? And I'm not a bad person, but I will tell you, this person is not right. It's up to you to make your decision. And we had to eliminate some people off the table.
And this is what happens when you have a team where the balance in the mix doesn't work to the goal.
Precisely.
And it's not necessarily a personal thing or a personality thing. It's about what's the right mix for the team. And in life, we have a team around us. We all do. However tightly or effectively we engage with that team, we have people around us. And sometimes we move them further away from us, sometimes we bring them closer to us. And it's about understanding how to manage that, how to engage with that in a way that you're able to connect for your target, for your goal, for your plan. And that is all about the checks and the controls. So now, in less than 10 minutes, we're already through to C.
Wow. What happened to the R?
R, we spoke about being responsible for what is going on.
Okay.
Acting like the right people, be the right person. Okay? But once you've got all of that, then you can start looking, how do we keep check that everything is going the way it's supposed to?
Okay.
Right? Now, you take the example that you gave. A pre-production meeting within the entertainment sector. Now, whether that's a movie, whether that's a TV show, whether it's a music video, these sessions that take place are designed as a check and a control within the plan. And the best pre-production processes will ultimately move people around. They will take people out of that equation. And that check and control is based on, is it the right team? Is the responsibility being taken? And is everybody doing what they need to do? Are they acting, as in doing the right things?
Right. You see, the whole thing, ladies and gentlemen, I am trying to respond to you via the group as well. So please, pay me no mind as I'm trying to catch up.
He's not really ignoring me. This is the important thing to bear in mind. Unisa is multitasking. It's something that he does exceptionally well.
Well, thank you.
But when we look at checks and controls, let's take it out of the work environment. Let's take it into the personal arena, the individuals. You, all of us, whether you are sat in a penthouse apartment in downtown Manhattan, or whether you are in a one-bedroom bedsit in Queens, you have a team around you. And the checks and controls that you put in place for yourself are the same checks and controls that support everyone around you,
You see,
when you're able to use them.
but the whole thing, I want us to understand, David. You and I had a conversation about the sheep, the herd, and so forth. And I was also on a podcast where we did something similar to our conversation. We as human beings tend to be a herd. We tend to be the sheep following. Now, a lot of people don't have the mind to say, you know what, I have to be that individual to stand out. I can make my own decision. We have to learn in life to say, you know what, I know some people are not going to like my decisions, but I think this is what is right for me. This is what is good for me. And this is what I expect from people around me.
Okay, so when you look at that component part, that fits with acting like the right person. You are being the right person for your goal, for your team, for you saying, this is what I need. This is who I am. I am the right person for my plan, for my goal, for my target. And what happens is people see that and they will either levitate towards it and go, yes, that's the right person. That's the person I want on my team. And you stand out. And because you stand out as the right person, you have other people who are going, I'm putting together my team, I need that personality, I need that skill set, I need that experience, I need that knowledge on my team. And you see how the concept then spreads. So one project where it's your project and you're the kind of compiling the team, putting in the responsibility, acting, putting in the checks and controls, and demonstrating the knowledge. Then someone else looks at that and says, actually, we need to replicate that. And then that starts. Now you've got two projects that are working off of the same model,
right,
and they're achieving, because they're not having to go round the houses, as it were, kind of keep rewriting what the plan is, because they've got everybody in place right from the beginning.
See, now, I hate is a strong word. I don't like to use the terminology, you understand? But the thing is that when you put a structure in place, you're going to have people that are going to try to undermine what you are trying to accomplish. You understand? If you are not strong enough, eventually those people with a strong will overcome whatever it is that you're trying to establish. Now, if you say, I'm trying to build a team, these are my expectations, this is what I'm trying to accomplish, you have to stick to that. Because at the end of the day, this is your team. This is an image of you.
Right. So in between those 2 points,
right,
you have everyone's taking responsibility. Everybody's doing what they need to do. You've got the controls in place and the checks and measures in place to make sure all of that is happening. And you've got the knowledge of what's going on across the team. That way, you reach your achievable.
That is another thing.
And before you just before you go on talking about structure,
right,
you know that next week I'm presenting structures for success. So when we talk about structures, it's always, as Eunice says, if you've got someone in your team that is undermining what it is that you're setting out to achieve, sometimes it can be really difficult to identify where that undermining's coming from. Sometimes it's really easy because people kind of show themselves and go, I don't agree with this, etc. But sometimes it can be really hard. So the structures that you put in place in order to achieve that goal, that target, become really, really important. And if anybody wants to know more about structures, because it's a big old topic to kind of bring in for today's session, then I'll put
no, we can just focus about track today.
Yeah,
because as Sue said, don't let others influence how you build your team. Don't let other people influence how you build your team.
Yeah. And thanks for that, Sue, because the external influences, and we've talked about this numerous times over the last few months, when you are allowing external factors to play into what is inside you, you are diluting yourself.
Precisely.
If you want a nice, strong drink, you don't dilute it. Sometimes you have to put a mixer in, so you get the best blend, but you don't overdo the mixer.
That is true.
And externals are always mixers.
Sue, what's your response to what David just said? And Sherelle just said, check structures and balances.
And the best structure is the one that has balance woven into the DNA of the structure. And on Wednesday next week, I'll be presenting exactly what that looks like. And I'll put the link for that into the comments after the show. But for the idea of getting your plan in action and achieving and succeeding, understanding the team has to take responsibility just as much as you take responsibility for your plan. It's your project. It's your endeavour. The team you put into play has to be geared towards what it is that you want to achieve. And don't be shy, as Eunice has said, move people out if they're not working for you, if they're not working for that plan. And that doesn't mean, you never speak to people again. It just means that they're not so close to that plan.
See, the thing about it, David, like I always say, I'm not the type to just say, to dismiss anyone. I'm always kind enough to say, maybe it's not time for us to work together, but maybe down the line, we will have the ability to work together.
And
there's a time and place for everything, and it's how you approach a situation and how you talk to. When you're constructing a team, ladies and gentlemen, we have to understand that I have a vision. I want to build a phone. David, I want you to do the frame of the phone, and I have someone else. I want you to do the configuration of the phone. So everybody has their role. Everybody has a position. Now, if I feel as though David is not doing his position, my job is not just to say, David, well, you're not doing your job, goodbye. My job is to say, okay, how can I support you? What do you need? How can we move further?
Okay, which brings us to our final letter. K, knowledge. Having the knowledge of where everybody is at within your team and how they are working, what are the challenges that they're facing in their responsibility, is going to allow you to work with those people rather than go, this isn't working, let's walk away and go in a different direction.
That don't resolve the issue.
Exactly. It still leaves a part of your team in a void. And by making sure that you, as the project lead, as the plan lead, as the person that created the goal, knows what is happening for everybody in your team. How many employers have made an assumption on how somebody is performing at work, acted on that assumption, only to find out that they didn't have all of the knowledge at the point of making that decision?
Now, we have Barkey that says a leader has to work on themselves while working with others. Me, I do a self-evaluation.
You SWOT, don't you? You go through what's the strength here, what's the weakness, what's the opportunity, and what's the threat.
I definitely do. I always use SWOT in place. But also, I want to be able to sit with you and talk to you and see what it is that you're doing wrong and apply the SWOT into place. And that will make you a stronger individual. We cannot criticize people for their weaknesses. As a leader, our strengths are to build other people up. It's not to say because you're weak on this aspect, well, we're going to leave you out of the equation, because we all have weaknesses.
But bearing in mind, when we start these conversations around knowledge about where somebody is at in a particular situation, it's very easy to fall into the perception of what they're presenting to us and our reading of what it is that's being presented to us. Knowledge is needed because it comes away from the assumptions, the perceptions, and misrepresentations. Knowledge means having the communication, as Eunice has said, about what is going on. What is it that you're presenting? Is that my understanding? Let's clarify what that situation is, because it could literally be just a miscommunication.
Eunice just said, she said, how am I supposed to know that this person is pretending to be the right person in the team?
Okay,
the whole,
do
you want to answer it or should I answer?
Go for it.
Okay. The whole aspect of it is that it's okay. Down the road, everyone will show their weakness. If they're pretending, our job, our objective is to straighten them and support them. Then that way, for them to even pretend, that means they want to have the opportunity. You understand? So give them the opportunity and give them what they need, the tools, the essentials they need to move forward. Yeah. You cannot say, well, you know what, you're not right for the role. Give them that opportunity. We always have to give people the chance and the opportunity to show their worth. Mm-hmm. We cannot judge. Who are we to judge? David and I work together, and I would never judge David. If David pretend like he's going to write a proposal, and David wrote the proposal wrong for me, I'm not going to say, oh, David did it wrong. I'm going to dismiss him. My job, my objective, my goal is to say, well, David, explain to me what you're trying to get across.
Because what's been missed.
Well,
and that's that
and we can work on.
And that comes down to knowledge. So it's a great question. How do we know? How do we get to that point? We see it in people's performance. We see it in how they interact with the rest of the team. We see it in a breakdown in communication, invariably first off, or a series of excuses for performance factors. And then we can, those red flags should be conversation starters rather than conversation enders. And when you're in a situation where someone has convinced a team that they can do something that is above them or is just beyond their reach, with the checks and controls put in place, you can see where they're struggling, and the rest of the team can either support that or say, actually, there has to be a cut-off point. But it's about working together with the team to achieve the goal. Hope that answers the question there.
I love the conversation in the group today. It's quite intriguing. The questions are coming through, and ladies and gentlemen, as you're quite aware, you see me getting involved in the conversations in the group. I am interacting with David, and I want to thank each and every one of you for the feedbacks. But Baki said, a great leader have to bring the team together, uplift and open-minded. Mm-hmm. And I think that is what we're talking about. It's not everyone that can be a leader. Mm-hmm. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. Let's just get that across. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. Where David is weak, I'm strong at. Where I'm weak at, David is strong at. So when we come together and we try to formulate something, it's called checks and balance.
Mm-hmm. Those checks and controls are a key factor. And as someone that is leading a team of any kind, that team can even be a family. We have to look at what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in any given situation. And when we're able to do that, it helps us formulate what the knowledge is. It enables us to have the conversations in a way that allows people to engage and maintain the team responsibility. By maintaining the responsibility across the team, you're able to almost sit back and nurture the project, whatever it might be, to where you need it to get to. And bearing in mind, when you set out on a particular path to a set goal, the world around that time frame changes.
Of course.
We're in the middle of a pandemic. Everyone a week ago was told, okay, we're opening up. Let's put plans in place for opening up over the next 3 weeks. And a week later, we're locking down again. All those plans had to change. But because the majority of people put a plan together, and it's somewhere in the distant future, we're going to achieve this. And then they put stepping stones to get to it. They kind of go, we're going to get here, then we're going to get here, then we're going to get here, and then we'll be able to do this. And invariably what happens, you get to the end of that list, and you've still got to make a jump to whatever it is your goal is. And invariably, the majority of us, being human beings and not Superman, jump off of that cliff from that whole list of things, and we just crash into the ground, and the plan doesn't get achieved.
You know, the funniest thing, like, okay, Sue is responding, Bach is responding, Shuel is responding, but let me just say, the funniest thing about life, I'm an advocate for youths. I'm a motivational speaker. So a lot of time when I get into our little meetings, they say, oh, you need to don't come give us one of your motivational talks. It's not the fact that I'm trying to give a motivational talk, because you and I spoke, it's always a time and place for everything. But when I talk, maybe it come across as I'm giving a motivational speech. It's in me, it's embedded. You understand?
It's part of your DNA.
It is. So when I come, it's to uplift people. And I don't want to say that makes me a leader, but that makes me to be humane, to be understanding of what people are going through.
And that is very much when you're going through that plan process, there's a goal, there's a target, there's an desired outcome. The knowledge that you bring supports the whole of the team. And that's something that quite often when, as I was saying, the plan goes, you know, in 6 weeks we're going to do X, Y, or Z. And we do all these things over the next 6 weeks and we'll get there. Only the world has changed and your goal is no longer relevant. But the work that you've done, invariably in those situations, becomes wasted. What most successful people do is say, this is what I want to achieve. It's not about achieving it in 6 weeks. It's right here, it's now. Everything that I do from here on in has to connect with that. And if it connects with it, then it doesn't matter when it gets achieved. It's about, it's here, it's now, it's working.
Sue just answered to Baki's question. Baki said, how to work with a leader that is not a people's person. And she responded to it. And I'm so happy with the conversations in the group. You see, let me just say this.
I love the fact that it's almost like there's two shows now running.
There are.
It's great.
Sue, you'll be next on this show. Sue, you'll be next on this show. You see, when I was going through my little triumph when my son got killed, Alpha in September, David, I was out my mind. I had people that were working for me, but were like against me, because they would go to the office and would sit there with their hands up, with their whatever. And Shuel was in the picture looking into the office, because I have cameras, I have, you know, my office is all glass. And she was like, oh, you need to sack that person. This is what they're doing. Sometimes it's good. As a leader, we're all human beings. We have our weaknesses. And that is why sometimes I give credit to Shuel, because it's like she's able to look into that little window and say, wait a minute, Eunice, why do you need that person?
Yep.
This is what they're doing to bring you down. Instead of trying to lift you up, they're trying to get the other team to do against you.
And this is where the structure comes into play. Because if you have a structure that identifies those individuals within your remit, within your arena, within your workspace, that are not taking responsibility, are not acting like the right people, are going against the checks and controls, are they actually part of that team? And in order to achieve your desired outcome, it starts with having the team. And this is something when, as the question from Parker about, you know, how do we work with a leader that isn't that way inclined? Show them that way. Work that way. Because ultimately, when a team takes responsibility, acts like the right person, puts those checks and controls in for themselves, and shares the knowledge, the leader is the one who will ultimately go, well, I don't know why this is working, but we've achieved it 6 weeks earlier than we were planning to. I really don't get how, but you know, what's going on here? Because it drives the curiosity. Because the team have taken it on themselves to actually work in the right way.
Right. Let me just point out, ladies and gentlemen, this show is called the Mindful Session. Now, we're here to elevate, to support each and every one of you. Now, we venture into different aspects of life. Now, what we are trying to do is not just how to construct your family or a business. It's constructing you as an individual. We're trying to have you structured. We did a show about anxiety. We have done different episodes of shows. Now, again, David and I, we can support you to the best of our abilities. The rest is up to you. Your feedback is deeply appreciated. We appreciate you. The whole aspect of this show is for you to get involved, and I am doing my best to respond. David will respond at a later time.
Yeah.
But again, you know, all we can do is give you ideas, give you our ideas, and give you our feedback. It's up to you how you partake upon these ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and ultimately, with the process of track as a tool for you as an individual, it gives you stepping stones.
You know what I want, David?
To focus on.
I want you to give a total dimension of track for everyone to really get the grasp, understand what it is, because it's on the psychological hive. And you know, I've read it, but ladies and gentlemen, please forgive me.
Go get a copy.
Yeah, you know, so what I want for David to do is basically give you a psychological aspect of what the psychological hive of track is. And I'm just going to sit here and enjoy the comments that are coming on and respond. David, go ahead, please.
Okay, so when we look at how we think about and how we engage with the world around us, invariably we have ambitions, we have targets, we have goals, but what we don't often do is put things into place that's going to help us achieve. So let's just pull the graphic back up if we can, team. Let's have that on screen while I take people through this, if we can. There we go. Okay, so always remember that in order to succeed best, quickest, largest amount of success, we invariably can't do it on our own. We don't live in a vacuum. We don't live in a bubble. We live with people around us. Utilizing the experience of those around us to benefit our goals, our achievements, is going to make life a heck of a lot easier for all of us. So always start with having the right people around you. Having responsibility, ensuring that everything is in play that needs to be in play. As Eunice has said, what is the expectation here? What is the target, and how important is it that we get that target in place for everyone? Act like the right people. Don't pretend. Don't try and make out that you're something that you're not, because you'll get caught out. Act. Do it. Be the right person. Because everyone else in that team will then levitate towards you. It gives you the biggest opportunity to showcase your talents, your experience, your knowledge in supporting somebody else. And be part of that team. Don't give up because someone else in the team hasn't done their part. Let's find out what the breakage is. Find out what's gone wrong. Why isn't something working? And then support it to fix it, to bring everything back on track. And that's when you're really starting to use checks and controls in a way that makes sense for what you want to achieve. If you think just for a second, how does that feel when you are seeing your objective realized? You see success coming towards you because you've got all of these things in place. How much more comfortable are you around the people that you've got in your team? How much less anxiety is there about achieving when you've got everything in place? How much safer do you feel when you've got all of this working in your favor? And then with the checks and controls that come into play, you can really start to see where there are those gaps. And if there is a gap, you've got people that you can kind of go to in your team and say, well, we're missing something here. Let's pull that in play. And with those things there, all the time you are building up your knowledge. Your knowledge is getting wider and wider and deeper every single interaction that you have. And making sure that you've got those controls in place and that knowledge growing is going to make you feel that much stronger in dealing with your goal itself.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely hope that you are able to understand what David had tried to convey to you. David had written so many programs, which indeed I'm so intrigued. And sometimes when David sends me the programs, I don't read them right away, but I do tend to read them. And
you get there in the end.
I do get there to the end, and I'm quite intrigued. So I hope that you understand what he's trying to say. Let me just say, Trinidad, thank you for tuning in. America, thank you for tuning in. Africa, thank you for tuning in. The UK, we are having so many people tune in, and we do appreciate each and every one of you. The whole aspect of this show is not just to cater to a community, but all community. And
psychology has no
boundaries. That is so.
No borders, and mindfulness has no passport.
That is so. So, as we're coming to end of the show, because as you're aware, we're always over our time, ladies and gentlemen, because we always love talking to you, we love being with you. Kipi just said, Kipiani just said, Kipi is my older sister, ladies and gentlemen. She worked for the United Nations, and she's involved in the group. She's involved with so many different organizations. She's always busy, but let me just say, she don't like you. She just said, if a leader is not seeing what is important to see, we'll just be talking to the wall. If a leader is not acknowledging you, you feel like you're talking to the wall. So that makes you feel less important, yep. Not part of the
yep,
team.
Not part of it. It becomes counterproductive. It becomes destructive. It does absolutely everything that track would would avoid. So, yeah, perfect example. Making sure that leaders have that knowledge. They are leaders. And if leaders are not prepared to listen to the people that they lead, eventually they will have nobody there. Because good people don't leave jobs, good people leave bad managers. They leave bad leaders. And as we move into what I hope, and I see as a massive opportunity in a post-COVID world, is an environment where we can rebuild how leadership plays out. And I truly believe that skill sets like track will make it through into how we shape our future in a pandemic environment.
Let me just say this, David. I love to smile. That is why people never know when I'm going to sack them. Because I'll tell you, come in the office, please. And you come in the office, I'm smiling. And the first question I'll always ask you is, how have you been? Have you enjoyed your time being part of?
Hold on, we had that conversation this morning.
Yeah, that means.
You said we'll come back to this later.
Yeah, but okay. You and I will come to it at a later time off the camera, you know. But I tend to ask them, how have you been? Have you enjoyed your time in this company? Do you think you're part of the team? What do you think you're lacking? How can we support you? And if you and I have done this conversation, we have had this conversation before, you understand? I do something where we meet, we do an assessment, which is a SWOT. And if your weaknesses we're able to support, we support. That is if you're willing to be able to express.
Communication, isn't it?
Communication is the key.
And this is where the APA, the psychological hive, all kind of comes into play with the work that Eunice is talking about there. We have those appraisal processes, those support mechanisms.
Appraisals are very important in a company. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
I love doing my appraisals. And appraisals get you to understand.
It's a massive opportunity to get the knowledge in place. So, as we wrap up and bid everybody a good week, I hope having just those 5 elements laid out for you today is going to give you things to focus on in your own approaches. So,
okay, let me just read this. T is for team. A team can be a family, an organization, a company. R is responsibility. You are responsible for your own actions. No, you cannot blame someone else for your actions. A, act like the right people. You have to have the right, like saying the right element, the right people, the right team, people that you can feel associated with. C, controls check, which are the, we spoke about your checks and balances and so forth, what you would like, how you want people to treat you, correct? Mm-hmm. And then K, knowledge. Knowledge is a key to everything. Understanding yourself, understanding what you want, and knowing your expectations of your team, and willing to provide the knowledge for your team to grow. Correct me if I'm wrong, but as we come into a close...
I think he got it. I think he's got it.
I'm learning.
And so, as we finish, I want to say to everyone out there, have a great week, stay safe, and please keep all of your plans and your goals on track.
As we come to a close, I know we spoke about this many times, and I'm just going to bring this back up because I know she's watching. I know Alpha is gone. I need you to be strong. I need you to understand the fact that he's in a better place. He's watching over you. But above all, you have a family that is willing to support you. You have a team that is willing to support you. The United Nations opened a foundation. The UN has never done this, but because of the fact that they value you and they're willing to support you, they open a foundation for Alpha. You are very strong, and this is not the time to be weak. We love you, and you have all the support that you need around you. You need to be strong. Ladies and gentlemen, this Kipi, I love you. Sapsira 2, this is for you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching.
ATVBASE TV is here to restore, rebuild, revive the nation.
We can never appreciate the hardship that creates a feeling of having nothing, but we can create the change that makes a difference. Join us, and together we can have an impact.
It's time for us to change the narrative and extend our humanity to the entire world.
Love is kind. It is not self-seeking. Let us extend our love and kindness in the best possible way we can.
Freely you have received the love of God. Freely give back to society. Extend a blessing to someone out there.
One can chase 1,000, but two can chase 10,000.
We believe in our communities and we believe in our youths. Let's work together and make a difference.
Our world needs you to be a part of a revolutionary change.
United we stand, divided we fall.
Give love.
Show love.
Hashtag Give love, show love.